You know that feeling, right? You're reading something or maybe listening to someone talk, and a sentence just hits you wrong. You know what it means, but some little alarm bell starts ringing in your head. Well, today we're going to figure out exactly what that feeling is. And the answer? Well, it's probably not what you think. Okay, let's just jump right in with an example. Speaks John French? Your brain immediately wants to fix it, right? Does John speak French? But hold on. Don't fix it. Just focus on that little jolt you get when you read the first version. That mental hiccup. What is that? Why does it happen? That feeling is really the key to this whole thing. And here's what's so weird about it. It's immediate. It's unreflective. You don't sit and think about it. And it is completely 100% involuntary. You don't choose to feel it. Your brain just does it automatically. So what's actually going on in there? And here's the really fascinating part. That wrong feeling has almost nothing to do with being confused. I mean, if someone says, I don't want going to the cinema, you know exactly what they mean. The message gets through. And yet, you still get that little psychological ping of, uh-oh, something's off. It's not a failure to understand. It's some other kind of failure. A failure to compute, almost. So what's the obvious explanation? You know, the one we all kind of assume is true. It has to be that our brains have some kind of built-in grammar checker, right? A little red squiggly line that just pops up in our consciousness when a rule gets broken. Well, this idea actually has a name. It's called the grammaticalness assumption. It's this very common sense idea that our brains just have this intuitive feel for what's grammatical and what isn't, and that wrong feeling is just our internal system flagging an error. I mean, it seems perfectly logical. But what if it's completely backward? Okay, get ready for a pretty big plot twist here. What if that feeling has absolutely nothing to do with a little grammar rulebook inside your head? What if it's just a side effect, a byproduct of a much deeper, much more powerful system that's designed for something else entirely? So here's this really fascinating new idea. That wrong feeling? It's not the main event. It's more like the exhaust flare from a massive engine that is constantly running in your brain. An engine that's been built and fine-tuned for one single purpose: super efficient communication. And at the core of this whole thing is a concept called optimal relevance. Basically, think of your brain as being really, really lazy in the best possible way. It's an efficiency machine. Whenever it processes communication, it works on one fundamental assumption: that the speaker is trying to give it the most possible meaning for the least possible amount of work. It's a deal our brains make in every single conversation we have. So a sentence feels wrong not because it breaks a grammar rule, but because it's built in a way that makes it logically impossible for your brain to process it efficiently. It doesn't just fail to be relevant, it's constructed in a way that cannot possibly be the best way to say something. It doesn't just slow the system down, it actually breaks it. Now, to really wrap your head around this idea, we're going to take a little detour away from language. We're going to look at our visual system, because it turns out the deep rules your brain uses to see the world might be the same ones it uses to understand language. Okay, so look at this image, a Penrose triangle. You know how this works. You look at one corner, it seems fine. You look at another part, it looks totally normal. But when your brain tries to put the whole thing together into a single 3D object, it just can't. It short circuits. That feels wrong because it violates the deep unconscious rules your brain has about how physical objects are supposed to work. It's a logical impossibility. And believe it or not, those grammatically wrong sentences, they trigger the exact same kind of cognitive breakdown. They feel weird for the very same reason that impossible triangle does. The sentence isn't just awkward, it's a communicative impossibility. It's the linguistic version of an impossible object. Just like the triangle violates the deep rules of physical perception, an unacceptable sentence violates the deep rules of communicative efficiency. And this table just lays it out so perfectly. For objects, your brain presumes they're cohesive, solid, real. For communication, your brain presumes it's optimally relevant. And in both cases, that wrong feeling gets triggered when different parts of the thing, the image or the sentence, create totally contradictory messages. It makes it logically impossible for your brain's basic assumption to be true. Okay, so if a sentence can be communicatively impossible, how does that actually happen? I mean, what does that look like in the real world? Well, it turns out there are 3 main ways a sentence can break this fundamental rule. And those 3 glitches are memory overload, pointless deviation, and, my personal favorite, Contradictory functions. Each one of these makes it impossible for a sentence to be the most efficient way to say something, and that in turn is what triggers that feeling of wrongness. So first up, memory overload. Just try to read this sentence. The rat, the cat, the dog chased, killed, ate the malt. Whoa. Yeah. Now, believe it or not, that is technically a grammatical sentence in English, but it is so tangled up that it just completely fries our short-term memory. We can't parse it. And because we can't get any meaning out of it, it's all processing cost and zero cognitive benefit. It cannot be optimally relevant. Second, we have pointless deviation. This is a bit more subtle. When someone says, "she gave me a book," your brain has to do a tiny bit of extra work. It recognizes a deviation from the normal convention, which is gave. But what's the benefit of that extra work? Is there any extra meaning? Nope, it's identical. So you have a higher cost for zero extra reward. By definition, that can't be the most efficient way to communicate. And third, and this one is so cool, is contradictory functions. Check out this messy sentence. Who did the woman who lost her glasses call? It feels wrong because two parts of the sentence are literally fighting each other for the spotlight. The main part of the sentence wants to foreground that the woman lost her glasses, but the who question part is trying to foreground who she called. You can't put a spotlight on two different things at the same time. It creates this tension that the brain just can't resolve. It's another communicative impossibility. So let's zoom out. What's the really big takeaway from all this? Why does it matter if this feeling comes from a grammar checker or a communication optimizer? Well, it completely changes how we think about our own minds. Because that little nagging wrong feeling, it isn't a bug in your language software. It's a feature. It's a sign that you have this incredibly sophisticated system running 24/7, unconsciously trying to make communication as efficient as possible. It's your brain's early warning system telling you that a piece of communication has failed its most fundamental test. And ultimately, that feeling isn't even really about language, is it? It's a byproduct of our advanced social cognition. It is powerful evidence that our minds have been biologically shaped for the deeply social, deeply cooperative act of human communication. It's not a grammar checker. It's a social superpower. And that kind of leaves you with a final, pretty mind-bending question, doesn't it? If this powerful, intuitive feeling that we all have is just a side effect of a deeper system for social understanding, well, what other hidden intuitions and glitches are running in the background of our minds, silently shaping our reality every single day? What other impossible objects are we all failing to see?